And I'm teaming up with you on Tricked.
I ain't got no chill. Another one, boy.
I'm Spencer Linton from BYU Sports Nation. You are watching BYU TV. See the good.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork sells Ford vehicles including the F-150, the pickup designed for work and play. Tim Daly Ford maintains a large inventory, providing more choices for selecting an F-150 with the power and engineering to carry and tow heavy loads. The F-150's design offers comfort, safety, and a range of options to choose from. Think Ford. Think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
You're watching BYU TV on KBYU DT Provo, Salt Lake City.
Coming up on BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, the Cougars take a 2-game win streak back out on the road, and we are previewing the week ahead with Coach Rose, Connor Harding, and assistant coach Tim Lacombe as BYU Basketball with Dave Rose starts now.
Inside, 8 scores for 2 seconds. It is all over.
Jimmer from 40 feet. Good! He got it! Give to Yo. Yo drives to the rim. An all-timer in the rivalry.
There'll be 2 teams after tonight that have 3 wins, and one of them's us, so that feels good. And, we got a real challenge next week.
Back to TJ, who gives it a low, and Yo throws it down. McKay Cannon with a cannon blast from the right side. TJ open for 3, pulls, fires,
This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried & Jensen, live from Studio C in Provo, Utah, with your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
All right, good evening, Cougar Nation. Welcome back inside the BYU Broadcasting building in Provo for our weekly hour of Cougar Hoops talk on BYU TV and BYU Radio. It is our weekly simulcast. You can join the conversation tonight using #RoseShow on Twitter, as well as commenting on the BYU TV Sports, Facebook, and Instagram accounts. That's where you can get your questions in for our Q&A segments later on in the show. Joined on set now by the head coach of the Cougars, fresh off career win number 340 here at BYU. And that win came in the second of back-to-back home wins this past week. 2-win week, which is great, and great to be back home as you were last week.
It was great to get back home first, and then to be able to win 2 games was, I think, really, just really good for the confidence and the psyche of our team. I think that we were out on the road for a long time, and I thought the students were great on Thursday night, especially that you could just tell they were there, and they were loud, and they were, trying to help our guys get going. And we got off to a great start, and it was a really good weekend.
Before we get to the games, there are 353 teams in Division I, and BYU ranks 25th in per-game attendance. And in the West, just the Mountain and Pacific time zones, you're second to Arizona. So BYU still putting up really remarkable numbers, considering how things are for everyone around the country. BYU still right near the top.
Well, and I think it's a great venue. It's a great place to watch a game, and then the feel in there. I mean, when you get that bottom bowl full of fans, which we usually have, it gets loud, and I think the energy in the building's good. And I think the marketing department does a really good job as far as the actual show itself, besides the just the game. So it's a fun place to come, and if you haven't ever been, you ought to come to the game. It's a good place to be.
It was a fun weekend. Let's take a look back at it. The first game of the week had BYU hosting the Portland Pilots, a program looking for its first ever win at the Marriott Center. Spoiler alert, it did not happen last week.
Yeah, we got off to a great start. Yeah. Offensively, we shared the ball really well, and we hit some shots, and that always gives you a lot of energy. But we were really good on the defensive end. There's a great drive and finish by Rylan Bergeson. He was our guest last week. And after about the 10-minute mark, we got in a little foul trouble. We had some interesting lineups up there, and they started to hit some shots. Those two, one was open, the other one was a pretty contested shots. But There's McKay and get to start the second half. Got off to a great start. And I think, McKay's given us some really good minutes. Played a lot of minutes in this game. I think his career high, played 36+ minutes here, but good play and good finish. And I think that the energy that he's bringing is really kind of contagious with the rest of the group. Yo had I think he had an 8-point half, 8-point first half, and then 20-point second half, or something like that. And his second half, he was he was really just really aggressive. And TJ was in foul trouble most of the night, but had a really good line. As far as assists and turnovers, had 6 or 8 points.
That's kind of a Tyler Hodge shot he took there.
Yeah, that was. When he came across, it looked a lot like Ty pulling up from that mid-range. Great play by Yo and TJ as far as sharing the ball and just reading the defense and giving what the defense gives us.
Game stats presented by Nissan Intelligent Mobility. Now the most exciting tech you own is in your driveway. You mentioned the defense, and that field goal percentage allowed is testament to that, how well BYU played on that side of the ball. Under 56 points allowed, and Coach Rose, since you've been the head coach, your team's around 92-0 when the teams don't get to 60.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy thing to do then. Just stop them from getting 60 and then we win.
Win all the time, yeah.
But, another record was broken last night that I thought was pretty interesting when Duke lost to Syracuse.
Yeah.
Duke, as a #1 ranked team, had won 96 straight games. 96-0 in Cameron Indoor as the #1 team.
Against unranked teams.
Yeah. And Syracuse beat them in overtime, so.
Remain to be broken.
You always talk about records, and I always think about them being broken. Yeah, so.
Well, this one hasn't been yet, the under 61. Hopefully keep that one going for a while. This was, it was the first game back after a month, but you said that just being home wasn't going to be the magic pill. You had to go out and do good things well.
And we had 3 really good practices. Our guys were dialed in, and I thought that on the defensive end, that first 10 minutes might have been as consistent as we'd played all year. And I think they had 4 or 6 points at the 10-minute mark. And then the second half, we were really good. I think our guys were dialed in. I think that their style, Portland, really kind of played into our hands. They have those guards that are really good that can penetrate, but we were able to get in gaps and help, and then they hit 6 threes on the night. But I think in today's world, you can live with 6 threes. It's when the thing gets to 9, to 12, 11. Those are hard nights to kind of manage. But with 6 threes, I think we can manage that.
They still haven't won a league game yet, but I think it's going to happen. They seem good enough to do that.
And then they got a good player back that against us was his first player. Deshaun Clark, and I think that will help them. Yeah. They were ahead against Pacific on Saturday night for quite a while, and then Pacific, finished the game off and got a big win on the road. But it's a team that can really get hot, and we're fortunate that we were able to stop them from doing that.
Okay, second game of the weekend had resurgent Santa Clara coming to your place, and this team is playing well. They'd won 7 of 9 coming into the game, and they can put pressure on you on a bunch of different spots on the floor. And Herb Sendek's got a good-looking group, even without a couple of guys that you saw last year.
And I think that the 9-2 in the last 11 games are what really kind of gets you worried. There's a great play from TJ in transition to Luke, and Luke finished that. Luke had a great game, just brought us great energy. Their guards, they're just really good at reading what we're doing defensively and then reacting to it. Yoli had another terrific game here. He hit the start of the game with 3 threes in the first half, and there's a nice dunk in the second half, and a very overzealous official kind of controlling the game, which really hurt us, actually, because we had some momentum going after that. Interesting called game, but
including this prompted a long review. There's
a play that was put in, a couple years ago, and now they put in another option on here, so that that's pretty obvious that should have been a call that. You can't get in their area, but that was a basketball play where Zach was just there, and as you swing your elbows. Here's
the one that seals it.
One of the biggest shots, that we've had in the Marriott Center for a while. I mean, we were down to 1 possession game, and TJ, pulls that up, puts us up 6, and then forces them to take a 3, and good win for us, and our guys were really excited after the game to get 2 wins in the weekend.
If I think about 2 of your 3 league wins so far, and it was TJ Haas threes late in the game that kind of pulled him out for you.
Yeah, and I think that's what you're going to see a lot of in our league. I think that Gonzaga obviously is a team that on the national stage is really kind of above all the rest of us, but we've got I think there's going to be really a lot of games that come right down to the last possession. You've seen Pepperdine at San Francisco at Pepperdine was a one-possession game. Pepperdine at Santa Clara was a one-possession game. The San Diego game with Pepperdine was really close. So I think that get ready, because it's I think a lot of these you'll be holding your breath at the end to see which team's going to win this thing.
You've talked with us a lot about how well you think your team plays with a lead, and you've got 3 league wins so far. In those 3 league wins, I think you've trailed for a total of 94 seconds.
So
another thing just to keep doing.
It's pretty obvious to me when we play our best. The St. Mary's game we got behind, and it just kind of snowballed. And so I think it's something that it's not just unique to this team. We've had other teams that have been kind of like this, and hopefully that the confidence will continue to improve with the group, and that we can fight through some of these tough times.
All right, 2 weekends of league play now in the books. BYU is 1/4 of the way through the conference campaign. Let's take a look at where these teams line up right now. And great to see BYU right near the top. As Coach Rose told us post-game on Saturday, at the end of that night, there will be 2 WCC teams with 3 wins, and BYU is one of them at the quarter mark.
And during that time, the San Francisco and Gonzaga were playing each other.
Yeah.
You didn't know who were going to. Gonzaga was 2-0 and San Francisco was 2-0, and so you didn't know who was going to win that game. And then I got to watch the last 10 minutes of it, and it's just amazing. It's amazing how Gonzaga just has a real knack of making big plays, especially in that gym. I mean, there was a night I watched a few years ago when they were up, Gonzaga was down 20 in the second half in that gym, and they came back and made the same kind of plays. I mean, Kyle's got himself a really good team. They played really well and got beat by 13 on their home floor. And so we're all chasing the Zags, and hopefully somebody can get them. But
the end of that game was I put the phone away to leave the building, and USF had just taken a 2-point lead at, I think, the under 4. So USF's up 2, under 4 to go. Next time I looked at the phone, they had lost by 13.
Yeah, and so when people see it across the country, it's going to look like, it was kind of a blowout. But San Francisco was ahead a lot in the second half, and they had a nice game plan, and their size caused Gonzaga some real problems as far as getting the ball inside. But those guards made some huge plays for the Zags late. And 13 points, it just seems like it wasn't a 13-point game, that's for sure.
Well, there are only 2 league players who've been WCC Player of the Week on more than one occasion this year. Gonzaga's Rui Hachimura, and your guy, Yoli Childs, Player of the Week for his 2 efforts in the 2 wins at your place last week.
Yo he had a great week, and he feels really comfortable, down there, especially on that short corner, low block area, and TJ is doing a terrific job. You look at TJ's numbers over the week, I think he had close to 14 or 16 assists. Yes. Most of those are to Yo, and they've got a great chemistry between the 2 of them as far as reading that pick and roll. When Yoli's hitting 3-point shots, it really makes him so much harder to guard, because then you've got to come out, and then it makes him so much quicker because they've got to close the space, and then he can put the ball on the floor and shoot that little floater that he's really good at, or take it to the rim. And I think that his ability to be able to handle the double team is what has really improved, and he's assisting the ball when they get 2 players on him, and that's what you always want. You want to have guys on the perimeter who have to take a second defender, so you get 1 guy open, and guys in the post who will take a second defender, and then you can move the ball and hopefully get a lot of open shots in a game.
And you and he are finding out together, game to game, how teams are going to try and handle them.
Yeah, I mean we've got a game plan put together to do 2 or 3 things early, just to see how they're going to play, all those little sets that we run for him. And with him being selected as there's some really good performances in the league when you go and see who was nominated and what they actually did. But Yo's numbers were terrific. He averaged 27.5 points a game, and I think he shot 60% from 3-point line, and it was 11 rebounds a game. I think that he had average a double-double, 20 and 11. So
yep,
that's a pretty good week, and well-deserved award for Yoli.
Yep, he is right near the top in the league in scoring and rebounding, averaging a double-double on the year. All right, time for a break. And, folks, your day-to-day Cougar Sports play-by-play is with Spencer Linton and Jerem Jordan on BYU Sports Nation tomorrow. Women's basketball head coach Jeff Judkins on the show ahead of that big matchup with Gonzaga Thursday. It's tomorrow, noon Eastern on BYU TV and BYU Radio. Coming up after our first break, Coach Rose previewing the Cougars' two-game road set this week. Stay with us here on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
Call it a path or a way through. It can be arrow straight or have twists and turns. It's life's financial journey, and Mountain America Credit Union is here to guide you every step of the way. With timely advice and affordable products, this is your journey. Let's begin together. We're Mountain America, guiding you forward.
You're watching Super Tuesday on BYU TV, presented by Siegfried and Jensen.
No mercy.
I'll make sure Brody doesn't find out.
Why, thank you very much. I'm from the show Random Acts, and we do random acts of kindness for deserving people.
Aside from your dad, who in your family does this guy remind you of the most?
There's corn on it! There's corn on a muffin!
Living so closely together, you wouldn't think we'd have any secrets left to hide.
Just wants to make sure everything is perfect.
Put your hand on your heart and feel what courses inside you. Remember that above all, we are mortal. We only get one fleeting chance at this business called life, and we only get one chance to share this life with others. This is the hero's journey, and we are all on it.
Blue runs deep on BYU TV. Don't miss the Gonzaga women's basketball game, live Thursday at 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain. Watch all of your favorite BYU teams on BYU TV, your home for Cougar sports.
Hi, I'm Emily Starr. And I'm Lisa Valentine Clark. You're watching BYU TV. See the good.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. Here's our broadcast schedule for this week. BYU at Pepperdine Thursday night, 11 o'clock Eastern. You can watch it on ESPNU, hear it on BYU Radio. Then the Cougars hit up the Hilltop on Saturday night. Again, that same late tip time. The W.TV, NBC Bay Area, if you're in that area, and BYU Radio again and always. First up, Firestone Fieldhouse. This quaint venue by the seaside. Anything but relaxing for the Cougars. Waves have won 4 of the last 6 in this building against BYU. And Lorenzo Romar's team, a confident bunch, Dave. They just won down the road in San Diego on the weekend.
Yeah, and you know, this has been, they're a really good home team. They always have been. But this team has taken on a whole new kind of persona. They've been a defensive team the last 4 or 5 years. And I think that with the coaching change, Lorenzo has got the same group of guys playing really confident offensively. They average close to 80 points a game.
More up tempo.
They have 6 guys that you know, are averaging double figures, really balanced. And you know, this will be Lorenzo just got his 400th win as a head coach in that San Diego game. He's been coaching all over the country. We played him in the Marriott Center when he was with Pepperdine, the first stint at Pepperdine, and actually got, for some reason, I remember this game like it was yesterday when Bart Jepson hit that little baseline jumper, you know, to put us ahead and win that Pepperdine game.
Wasn't the Cougar Classic game?
We won the Cougar Classic. I think it was one of the last Cougar Classics that were played. Auburn was in that, and Pep beat Auburn in the other game, and so that's who we played in the championship game. And but I've known Lorenzo for a long time. He recruited a lot of our players when I was the head coach at Dixie when it was a junior college, and so he's one of the real good guys, class acts, and he's got these guys playing really well, really well.
Most of his starters are guys you know, but the entire bench right now are all high school freshmen coming in.
Yeah, and one of them is actually one of the, I think, a cousin to the Ball brothers.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there is a Ball. Yeah,
and he's actually puts up he shoots a lot of deep threes, just like you know, his Lonzo and what's the Mello and
LaMelo, yeah,
all those fellows. But So we'll get a piece of that on Thursday night. But what our group will take in there is we won last year in there, and traditionally we haven't shot the ball really well in there, so we got to really kind of dig in and get these guys. Colby Ross is the key to the whole thing. He runs the show. He takes a lot of shots. Now Cameron Edwards is back, and so he's actually taking more shots per game when you actually add up and look at the stats. But Colby Ross is the head of the snake here, and so hopefully we can do a job on him.
Scored a career-high 27 against San Diego on Saturday, and then Cameron Edwards' little brother Kessler is also involved in this year's team.
He's shooting, I think he's scoring 13 or so a game. So with 6 guys, the 6 guys averages 9.7.
Just barely under, but basically it's 6.
We're talking 6 guys, and so you've got a real challenge defensively to find. And if you're averaging 10 points a game in double figures, you probably had a 20 or 25 in there somewhere just to make up for a night where you don't score as much. So this is a group that has a possibility of really having a great offensive night, and that'll be our challenge. That's our challenge.
Still want it to be Thursday. After Thursday's game with the Waves, you guys make the short flight, right, from L.A. Area up to San Francisco, and you've got that showdown with the Dons on Saturday night. USF's 2-1 in league, just gave Gonzaga that great game we talked about on the weekend. And yet this is a building in which you guys play really well, seemingly every time you go up there.
It's kind of, if you look at the history of our years in the WCC, it's probably the worst gym to the best gym, as far as how our guys have played over the years. But this San Francisco team is really good. Kyle's got a great collection, almost a collection of 2 groups. He's got a lot of Rex's players, that have continued on, and then he's brought his new guys in. And the style that he plays, this Charles Minlin didn't play last year, but was a freshman. He averaged almost the same kind of numbers his freshman year. They're 9-1 at home. They got a lot of depth on their team, and they actually played a league game. I mean, a road game, non-conference in Ireland this
against
year,
Buffalo,
which. I haven't played many teams who have played a regular season game in Ireland, so this.
I want to be one of those teams that goes to play somewhere crazy like that, though.
Well, we're going to play this summer. We're playing some games overseas, but I don't. We actually played at the University of Houston my senior year.
To Japan.
We played a tournament in Japan, in Tokyo, and haven't seen that one back on the schedule.
And Pepperdine was involved in that trip somehow too, right?
Yeah, Pep was on that trip with and Utah and Virginia were the 4 teams over there.
The last game you played against San Francisco was very memorable. The game you played at your place here last year. And it was so good and so crazy. We're going to flash back to it very briefly. BYU ended up being down 6 with 39 seconds to go. And you get within 4 here with Yo.
And then we foul.
Then I think you steal, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, steal. Jashir gets a 3-point play on the foul here. Right. So now you're within a couple. Or within 1, beg your pardon. They get a couple free throws at the other end, and then this happens with Elijah.
Big shot.
And that gets you to overtime.
And that's a lot of the energy that you get from a home team, your crowd, and Kyle has to be just. And Dana Altman went through one like that just last week up at Oregon. UCLA was down 9 inside of a minute, and same thing. They tied it, went to overtime, and they. UCLA won the game, and those are just games where you shake your head and glad you're on the right side. We've had a couple of those, but we've also had a couple that got away from us where we thought we had a win, and it goes. But Guy Lewis, my coach that I played for years, always told we'd have these close wins, close losses, and he says it's all in the end. It's all going to work out about the same, Dave. So hopefully you lose them all early, because then you're going to win them all late. And I don't really particularly believe that, but that's kind of what in his 33 years of coaching, that's what he had kind of figured out.
But I've talked to a lot of coaches who kind of share the belief that it evens out in the end. You'll win about as many as you'll lose in that situation.
But that situation, when you're inside of 30 seconds and down 6, and everything has to go right. That ref had to call the foul, and he hadn't called any fouls for the last 4 minutes. It seemed like we were just getting hammered at the rim, and then Shear just barely gets touched and finishes, and so he gets 3 points on the deal, and they miss a free throw on the other end. But big shots for our guys, and now you kind of play that game, because those guys were all the same guys, and we're going to go in there.
Yeah.
And that'll be on their high priority list, you know, to make sure that they try to make up for that game.
So you mentioned Shear. He missed the last 2 games with a hand injury. How's that coming along?
Well, not as quickly as we would like, and for sure not as quickly as he would like. We're going to see another guy specialist tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get some, but once you get in the protocol with the medical staff, there's just things you have to do, and so it's very, very painful, this index finger and on his left hand, which is an important hand, you know, for a guy that's left-handed. So we'll know more tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to get kind of a timetable of when we can expect them to be back in practice and get rolling with.
Maybe get him on the road anyway, though, with you, or?
Yeah, well, the plans are to travel him because he's. You know, hopefully, I don't think Thursday's in the cards, but maybe Saturday.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. All right, folks, the only 2 undefeated teams in the West Coast Conference women's side of the WCC, 13th ranked Gonzaga and BYU linking up in women's hoop action Thursday night. Big game. Watch it at 9 o'clock Eastern on BYU TV and the app. After this break, some Q&A for the coach as BYU Basketball with Dave Rose continues here on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
BYU Basketball with Dave Rose is brought to you by Siegfried & Jensen, helping Utah families for over 25 years. And by Nissan, innovation that excites.
Luxurious blanket. Getting cozy with family and friends. A gift for everyone. Minky Couture, official luxury blanket of BYU Athletics.
Are you looking for a better way to deliver results this year? Expanding your product line or building new locations? How about your online presence? Does it need a boost? Maybe you just want to put a little more distance between you and the competition. Tap into the powerful engine of BYU Athletics and let us put together a plan unique to your business. We can provide you with the tools designed to enhance your brand on a local, regional, or national level. We invite your team to join ours. For details, email sponsorship@byu.edu today.
Everybody enjoys a little prank from time to time. Add a little magic to the prank, and things get even more interesting.
That is insane.
This season, I'm teaming up with families to prank siblings, friends, parents, and their kids.
What?
You're on TV right now. I'm Eric LeClaire, and it's time for a little mischief.
This is why you brought me here?
High fives, you guys are awesome. High fives, Mom.
Blue runs deep on BYU TV. Don't miss the Gonzaga women's basketball game, live Thursday at 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain. Watch all of your favorite BYU teams on BYU TV, your home for Cougar sports.
Trigger and Rob Strasburg are changing lives one house and one family at a time.
I'm so happy for you guys.
Witness the transformation on Welcome Home.
Please.
A lot of people are scared of me.
Yeah, well, you don't know half of it.
Luke Worthington, center from Mequon, Wisconsin. LeBron James or Michael Jordan, I'll say Jordan. Favorite movie, Toy Story. Bucket list place to go, Thailand. Secret talent, I can splash from 3. Which staff member still has game? Not Lee Kamard. Biggest fear is none. Which superpower would I choose to have? Flying. Teammate I wouldn't mess with, Jashir. Favorite basketball player, Dirk for sure. And then most memorable basketball moment, winning at Gonzaga my sophomore year.
Count it! Green boy.
All right.
Always good to get the official ruling on that. Thank you, Luke. Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose on the BYU TV and BYU Radio.
If maybe we get that guy to start reffing our games. You know?
Julian, what do you say? You free? Yeah. Free for the next home game?
I guarantee you could hang with the guys that are showing up. Yeah.
We may not get him on the road this week, but next home game.
Okay.
See if we can get you in.
It'll happen.
All right. You can join the conversation to get your questions in for tonight's guests always by using the hashtag Rose Show on Twitter or the BYU TV Sports Facebook and Instagram accounts. It is time for some Q&A. And we'll start right here in the studio. We've got Alan Taylor at the mic. Stepping to the mic is Alan. Hey.
Hey. So I just had a quick question on when you lose a game, what is the very first thing you tell your players?
Well, I usually start all my speeches after a loss with, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to make you feel any better, but let's get, let's analyze this game and then get on to the next challenge. Because one thing about basketball is that, you've got to have a short memory because you got another game coming most of the time. And my approach after a loss has changed dramatically since I started coaching 30 some odd years ago. But with this group, probably more encouragement than anything because it's a team that needs to have confidence.
Locker room's kind of a special place, and you don't let every secret out. But after wins or big wins, that could be a fun place to be.
Yeah. In fact, it's probably the funnest place you could find on earth, except maybe Disneyland. That's the happiest place, but it's a happy place in the locker room, and our guys celebrate well. And this group, like a lot of our teams, they have a real connection to each other, and winning that game and that accomplishment together as a group, it's fun to watch us celebrate.
Do you need to stay in a certain kind of physical shape to make sure that you're up to speed for all these celebrations?
Yeah, for me, I'm pretty winded at the end of the celebration, and the guys seem to be just fine. And now we got somebody, I got to find out. I don't let anybody film it because I don't want it to get out, but somebody's emptying their water bottles in the middle of the celebration. It's ruining my suits, so we're going to have to figure out who that is.
Okay.
Maybe control that a little bit.
At Matthew Begg 21 on social media has a question from Instagram. Says, you've said that Luke Worthington is a tremendous leader. Where does that manifest itself the most? And that might actually be a nice segue into some news that you have today about Luke, too.
Well, I think that Luke is, we've had great leaders here, but Luke is as extroverted in his leadership as anybody that we've had. And his encouragement to guys, the other night he played 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and I took him out of the game, and he's on the bench, and the very first possession defensively right in front of us, he was up and barking all the game plan and getting the guys to, verbally communicate to each other. Those are rare qualities in guys. Usually they spend a minute or two on the bench wondering why they got took out or what. He's a team guy. I think that Luke and McKay, as the two seniors on this team, have taken a real role the last 2 or 3 weeks of just trying to do whatever it takes for our guys to get us to, to be consistent throughout the game. So, Luke is applied for a master's program here, and so we'll be able to have him on our staff for the next 2 years as a graduate assistant, and that's really exciting to us and I think to the players, because you have a guy that is that team-oriented and focused on one thing, just winning. That's his whole goal. And when we don't win, he's right out there in front, trying to keep guys, with their head up and to be encouraged and get ready to go out and try again.
Would you say he has coach qualities?
Well, absolutely. I don't know if he wants to be a coach.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be like an NBA owner or GM or an athletic director. But he no question he'd be a great coach because he's really detail oriented and he has a real feel for guys.
Okay, thanks for the Q&A, folks. Good stuff. Wednesdays at 8 Eastern on BYU Radio. You can get better acquainted with Cougars past and present on my show Behind the Mic with a weekly hour of in-depth conversation. This week, my guests are former BYU hoopster Eric Nielsen and BYU golfer Peter Quest. Something else tomorrow, 8 Eastern on BYU Radio. We meet tonight's first special guest coming up next as Connor Harding joins us here in Studio C. This is BYU Basketball with Dave Rose.
The big moment, championship game, down by 2, 10 seconds left. Inbound pass, Johnson's got the ball.
In their hearts, your kids have always been champions. It's only a matter of unlocking their potential. So give them a place to dream. A place where, every day, they can shape themselves into what they can become.
They made it! And the crowd goes wild!
Champions start here. Sport Court.
car wreck? Martin's Collision Repair.
The right repair, the right paint, the right choice. Martin's Collision Repair.
Okay, welcome to life. Can I get you started with some education?
Charity! Charity! Tomato fest, lobster fest.
Deal.
So we set up our own booth, our pyramid of...
Oh, I had to test it out. It's working great.
So what we're trying to do is something that normally would take a week. We're going to do it in 2 days.
Everyone's just jumping in, and they see a need, and they want to help.
Yo, Celius. Harding for three. Banks it in! First bucket of the half for Connor Harding. It's a bank shot. It counts for three, and BYU leads it 40-33.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. Time to meet our first guest on tonight's program. He is a returned missionary freshman from Pocatello. He is part of the Potato Posse, one of the 4 Spudsmen. We have all kinds of nicknames. He's Connor Harding. Connor, good to have you with us. How you doing? Thanks for coming on.
Good, thanks for having me here.
So, first up, it takes a high degree of confidence and good knowledge of geometry to work the angles just right on a 3 from the angle like that.
Yeah, so I think what happened there is I watched Nick hit it earlier at Utah State, and so I just wanted to, hit a shot like him. And so that was my plan.
You had told everybody you were going to do it, and so you just did what you said you would do, right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, don't think it was an accident. You are a product of Highland High School in Pocatello, and while you were there, you won a state title. You were a state player of the year, and you also played some football in your spare time. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is true.
What did you play in football?
So in football, all growing up, I played quarterback and a little bit of a wide receiver. And my junior year, we actually won a state, and that's when I played wide receiver. And then we lost in the semifinals my senior year when I played QB.
Dave, did you ever get to see Connor play any football?
Yes, I did. I actually, Coach Lacombe and I went to, it was in Rexburg, wasn't it? Yep. The game in Rexburg, and they're playing Madison, I think. I got to see Luke play a football game years ago out in Wisconsin. That fall recruiting period is really interesting because you go out and you try to watch these kids that are, doing playing basketball in like their class. They have a PE class, or the team hasn't really got started yet. But when your your star recruit is playing football during the fall, you get a chance to go watch the fall football games.
One of the guys in your quarterback shoes a few years earlier would have been Taysom Hill, right?
Yeah, he was actually way before me, but yeah, I watched him all growing up, and it was exciting to watch him play.
Did you guys know the Hill family? Were you guys family friends or know them at all? Or?
Yeah, we actually grew up with the Hills. My brother played basketball with him all growing up, and his dad, Doug, went on hunting trips all the time. They're actually our neighbors, so if you just look across the street, across the way, you'll see the Hills house. And so we grew up all together. And, it's exciting to watch him play on the Saints, and hopefully he makes it to the Super Bowl and wins one.
Yeah, how big a deal do you think it is right now, what he's doing with New Orleans back home in Pocatello?
It's a big deal. You see all of Pocatello, because we're kind of a football community. I try to change that to basketball, and it didn't really work out. But, you see Taysom, all over social media, and, he's a good person, too. And so to represent Pocatello like that, there's no better person with a character like he has.
So you were playing up in Idaho, but you actually have known a couple of your BYU teammates for a long time, because even though you're playing in different states, you were on the same AAU team, right?
Yeah, and so it's kind of funny because I was actually at the camp here at BYU, and the coaches were watching me, and then they kind of watched me in the summer, and they're like, you need to get on a better AAU team so we can see, what level you can play at. And so that's when I got the opportunity to start traveling down to Salt Lake and started to play with Yo, Gab, Frank, and started to play with the prospects.
Did you sense that, was it kind of a discussion about you all being together at BYU at one point? Was that a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. It was. And, Frank, he really wanted to go with us, but, he eventually, you know, took off in a different way with his career. But, you know, Yoli and Gavin we stuck with it, and, you know, we thought that BYU was a perfect fit for us.
Coach Rose, as it often appears, it seems like you get a guy committed, and it takes forever to finally get him on the floor playing for you.
That's what it seemed like with Connor. And Gav, you know, those two guys they traveled around together, and we went. I mean, we went all over the country. We were in New York for a week watching you guys play, and it seems funny at times that, you know, your recruiting budget, you got a guy that lives, you know, a couple 100 miles away, and you're seeing him play in Florida, New York, and Texas, but that's kind of the name of the game now. And Connor's come in and just really, you know, fit with our guys really well, and his ability to execute a game plan for a freshman is terrific. He's got his numbers as far as just his efficiency, his shooting the ball. You know, defensively, learning our system is something that he continues to improve on. And I just think that for a guy, you don't consider him to be a young guy because he graduated from high school 3 years ago. But in the game itself, as far as the college world, what he's playing is 17th or 18th game, and it's amazing what he's accomplished already.
As a starter, as a freshman, quick word about how you feel the season is going before the break. How's it going?
I feel like we've had our up and downs, but, you know, as lately, I feel like it's up on the rise. And so I feel like we have an opportunity to make some noise.
Okay, hang tight. We'll get some Q&A for you coming up a little bit later on the show. Saturday, you can watch WCC Women's Player of the Week, Paisley Johnson and the Women's Hoopsters against Portland. That'll be 4 o'clock Eastern on BYU TV and the app. Fans, if you're looking for an even more convenient way to shop at Smith's, try Smith's Click List or online and pick up curbside by the store. Visit smithsfoodanddrug.com for details. Coming up next, Assistant Head Coach Tim Lacombe joining the crew on court as BYU Basketball with Dave Rose continues here on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
They prefer to be bringing the heat, getting set for success, demonstrating their drive. But when their blood and sweat turns to tears or anything else, we lay the groundwork for BYU's athletes to hit the ground running again, and you as well. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
He'll come after you, son. Just for the ugly fun of tearing you apart. You would be the only freshman around. Survival of the fittest.
In England at the turn of the century, Laura Timmins is caught between two worlds.
I was brought up with proper manners, which is more than can be said for some people in Candlefoot.
And she has a lot to learn.
Love rarely crosses the great divide of social class.
It's the acclaimed series about class, family, and finding your own path. Lark Rise to Candleford.
Having that money makes you not have to worry about money. And that's a very small part of life. I think it's time to give back, and it's becoming more and more important to me. They have no electricity, no running water, but boy, they are a happy, loving family. They truly have something special.
We are back on BYU Basketball with Dave Rose here on BYU TV and BYU Radio, presented in part by Smith's. Low prices, market fresh at Smith's. As tonight's Rose show rolls on, we welcome in a native of Highland, Utah, who moved to Texas for a time, but has now been walking the hardwoods of the Beehive State for upwards of a quarter century already. He's in his second decade with BYU Hoops. Assistant head coach, Tim Lacombe. Hello, Tim. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming on. Well, I know you consider yourself more of a Utahn than a Texan, but I know you really liked your Lone Star State years north of Dallas.
Yeah, it's a great place. You know, Coach and I share that time. He moved out there too, lived in Houston. I think Dallas was really good to me. I learned a lot, and it was definitely influential in my life living out there.
Your high school was a football powerhouse, right?
Yeah, we won the the USA Today national championship 2 years in a row. When I got there, right when I got to Texas, I realized I wouldn't be playing football because those guys were. I think we had 18 guys out of the 22 starters that were Division I guys. So it was a big deal.
Your love was basketball.
Yeah, it always has been. Yeah.
And another love close to it is music.
Yeah.
You love listening to it.
Yeah.
You love playing it.
Yeah.
You love singing it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so much so that back in the day, the band you formed is still together making music.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shot of us in the studio. That's last year we played a show. Coach actually came to it.
Yeah.
He loved it.
What kind of musical chops does Timmy have?
It's amazing. I can't believe it. I get a headache watching him, because the night I saw him, he sang like 30 some odd songs and at a very high energy level. And his band's great. He's got Kevin, the guitarist. We actually had him come out and play at our banquet, 1 year. But it's amazing how talented the group of just a bunch of schmucks, that were playing in high school.
That's right.
Still getting it done. And once the season is well over and you're into a bit of an off season, you've got like a gig.
Yeah, we
right?
do. Big one. Big one. It's our drummer's 50th birthday, and I think he's made more money than all of us combined 20 times. So he's throwing the biggest party he could throw for himself for 50th, and I think there's 700 guarantee or RSVPs already. So he rented out a concert hall. It'll be fun.
A long night of music will be in store, right?
Yep.
You served a church mission to Boston.
I did.
And your time there has probably helped make you and keep you a Red. Let's see your socks here tonight.
Got the Red Sox.
Those are your Red Sox
Always.
socks, and there you are with your son at Fenway.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, at least within a few weeks, you were back watching the Red Sox against the Dodgers. You had terrible seats.
That was
clearly.
my seat right there, right behind the plate.
Okay, how do you end up with those seats?
It's all about relationships.
That's what this business is, right?
That's right.
Wow. And when you guys, Coach Rose, I think it was probably during that same Boston trip that you ended up doing some work, right? Visiting with the Celtics and Danny and his people.
Yeah, in the fall we went back to, our staff went back to the Celtics and saw them 3 days of training camp and just kind of rubbed shoulders with their coaching staff, with Brad Stevens and with Danny and Austin. And it's been a really, I think a real learning experience, especially for Lee as a young new coach and his ability to just be able to kind of, get into the coaching world and meet a lot of people. I think it was a good experience for all of us.
Connor, how do you describe Coach Lacombe?
Well, with my recruiting process, Lacombe never gave up on me. I was kind of a hard one, and I was kind of a hard one to recruit because I have a hard time making decisions like that. But Lacombe, he always believed in me, and he always stuck with me. And so as a coach, I know that he believes in me as a player, and that's like one of the most important things to me. And so that's what I love about Coach Lacombe.
And I'm always so calm.
Yeah, always so calm.
He's Coach Lacombe. Connor was a good get, wasn't he?
Oh, it was huge. We watched him. I'll never forget, we were at camp, and he came down to camp, and someone came running into the older kids' gym and said, "There's a kid in the 8th grade gym dunking it." So we ran over there, and instantly, he jumped up our radar, and we made I think we made a great relationship, with him and his family. He's got a great family, and that's what really, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about.
Your basketball background goes back a long ways. You attended the U after a stint at UVU, and it was while at Utah that you first became acquainted with Rick Majerus, and that got you kind of on the ladder, right?
Yeah, that's Coach and my daughter, who's now 23. That was just in the very beginning, but I learned so much from him, and about 80% of it I can't use at BYU because it's against the honor code. But that 20%, no, just kidding. It's just amazing, the stuff I picked up, and it was just kind of a fly on the wall. And so it was great. Met a lot of people, like Coach said. That's kind of coaching. And worked my way through it, and it was a great experience.
There was also a time back in the day that you dipped your toe in the broadcasting waters a little bit, right?
I did, yeah. I graduated in communications, so part of it you had to do an internship, and so I did, yeah. I did an internship with sports radio in Salt Lake, and actually worked for David Locke, who's now the broadcaster for the Jazz. So it's just funny how, you know, you just jump into stuff and then all of a sudden you got friends all over the place.
You've been in this a long time to know that seasons have ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys, and you're coming up right now and having had a couple of nice big home wins, heading back out on the road. Where do you kind of see this team in the phase of the season?
Well, I think the thing Coach stressed when we got back from, you know, our long road trip was that we needed to be more competitive. We had to find more of a competitive edge and, you know, kind of challenge all of us, assistants and players, to make everything competitive that we do. And so I think we've gotten that message, and I think the guys have stepped up that effort, and now it's the test. You know, we're back out on the road. So I do know this: we have as good a kids as you could ever have in a program, and it's awesome to be around them every day. You're proud of them, and you know, I think that the best this team has is certainly you know, coming. So
that's the hope. All right, Coach Tim Lacombe and Connor Harding with us. Fans, BYU Sports Nation right now with Kiki Solano is the latest in Cougar sports with a social media twist. Watch it right now on the BYU Sports Nation Twitter, Facebook, IGTV, and YouTube accounts. Coming up, it'll be this week's 3 in the Key as BYU Basketball with Dave Rose continues here on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
BYU Basketball with Dave Rose is brought to you by Siegfried & Jensen, helping Utah families for over 25 years. And by Nissan, innovation that excites.
If I got hurt and was laid up at home, I wouldn't even think to call a lawyer. What a hassle. I'd want to meet them first.
What if I told you that for your first consultation, your lawyer will come to you, home or hospital?
Really?
Really.
They do that?
If you've been seriously injured, we'll come to you. It's your job to get better. It's our job to deal with the insurance companies and protect your legal rights.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
BYU Food to Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food to Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
Starting quarterback.
End app envy. Watch BYU Sports Nation on BYU TV and BYU radio apps.
I didn't think that would go public. I ain't got no chill.
Another one, boy.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, presented by Siegfried & Jensen. Taking a look at our Cougars in the pros. Jimmer Fredette with 11 threes in the CBA All-Star game, scored 39. Kyle Collinsworth, double-double with his G League team north of the border. We'll see what else is going on overseas with our guys. Time now for 3 in the Key, and our 2 guests tonight, Connor Harding and Tim Lacombe, along with Coach Dave Rose. We'll try to answer some get-to-know-you multiple-choice questions from tonight's player guest. And the game show music is fired up, so let's have McKay Cannon take it away for us. McKay.
Let's see how well you guys know me. Question 1, what is my favorite color?
What is his favorite color? By the way, we call this 3 in the Key because we can't see this, but when they actually stood to pose, they're actually in the key. So he's trust us, he's actually in a key for this. Favorite color? One of these 4 options. Gentlemen, take a run at this. Tim?
I'll go with blue.
Connor?
I'm going blue.
Coach Rose?
I'm going to go with green.
Okay. McKay will tell us all.
Green.
Oh. See, that one, that was good, because I usually doubt myself, but that was my first. That's good.
Okay, well, and the thing is that you can't stick with Coach Rose because he goes last.
And I usually go with the popular.
Yeah,
he typically goes against what I said.
The contrarian. All right, next question from McKay.
Question 2. Who is my favorite NBA player?
Favorite NBA player? We're going to give you 4 options here: LeBron James, Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, or Donovan Mitchell. Tim.
Donovan Mitchell.
Connor.
LeBron James.
Coach.
Steph Curry.
Let's see.
Got it.
LeBron James.
Oh.
That's Connor, right? So you're 0 for 2.
Why wouldn't I go with the guy from Idaho? He's from Idaho.
So Coach Rose and Connor each with 1 right, and Tim's looking to get in the win column here. Last one from McKay.
Question 3. What was my high school mascot?
Okay, Shelley High School in Idaho, and they were one of these 4. They were either the Scallops, the Russets, the Mashers, or the Spuds. Tim.
I watched a high school game of his in Shelley and watched that little dude walk around. There was a potato walking around and potato head. The Russets.
The Russets.
The Russets.
We think we feel pretty good about this one.
The Russets.
Yes, it is indeed. All right. Thank you, McKay, and thank you, guys. That's 3 in the key. Good job tonight. Appreciate it. All right, we're coming back for closing comments from the coach as we tell you that you can enjoy a full hot breakfast buffet dinner Monday through Wednesday, a kitchen and a large grassy backyard along the Provo River Trail, all at the Residence Inn Marriott in Provo. Back to close it out after this. BYU Basketball, Dave Rose.
No matter what stage you're at in life, you're always looking to take the next step forward. At Deseret First Credit Union, we want to take each and every next step with you. With low auto loan rates, you can be ready to see what's around every new corner. And amazing rates on home mortgages, so you can move up to something you've always dreamed of. Deseret First Credit Union, with you every financial step of the way. Membership and eligibility required. Equal housing lender.
I take the road less traveled, run free, unwind, unravel, someplace outside with lots to do. Green trees, red rocks, and don't forget that blue sky. The sunshine shining, sunshine pouring on me. Think I might just stay a while. Say hooray all day because the sun's gonna shine on me, sun's gonna shine on me, sun's gonna shine on me.
I do this really weird face that I call the constipated chicken.
Arden, your dad is an actor.
Well,
your mom regretfully told us that she snores.
Yes, I hear to the wall.
I understand that you beatbox and drum on yourself. Can you give us a little taste of that? Yeah, it's bad.
There are 3 definitions of the word trick. Number 1, a secret strategy or plot. Number 2, a prank played on somebody you know or love. And number 3, an optical illusion or an act of magic. My name's Eric LeClaire, expert in all 3, and I'm teaming up with you on Tricked.
Welcome back to BYU Basketball with Dave Rose here on BYU TV and BYU Radio, presented by Siegfried and Jensen. Here's our broadcast schedule again for this week. BYU at Pepperdine, Thursday night, 11 Eastern, 9 Mountain, 8 Pacific on BYU Radio and ESPNU. They had another late night on Saturday, at least for the East Coasters. It'll be 9 o'clock in the mountains and 8 o'clock on the coast for BYU at USF. Again, BYU Radio, and this time on the W.TV, along with the NBC Bay Area in that area. Well, Coach Rose, every conference game is a huge game, of course, but if you want to stay where you are right now, top tier, those road games have so much added value, and you get 2 great chances this week.
Yeah, and it's going to be, I mean, a real challenge. And I think that you heard, you know, Coach LaCombe talk a little bit about how we've challenged our guys, and I don't think that by any means that this team doesn't compete hard. We just have a hard time of sustaining that over a full game, and especially it's shown up on the road. I mean, we're 9-1 at home, and our record on the road outside of the building, we've only won 2 games this year. So that's our challenge, is that we got to compete at a really high level together as a group with urgency for long periods of time, and we got to find that within ourselves. We're not going to get a lot of help from the fans, and hopefully our guys are up to the task.
You'll practice here tomorrow and then kind of hit the road for LA. Is that the plan?
And then we'll get into Pepperdine's gym on just on the shoot around, and then play Thursday night, and then Friday we'll travel up to San Francisco and repeat the drill again on Saturday.
All right, good luck in getting 2 this week.
All right, thanks a lot, Greg. Look forward to it.
Love to see you all here in Studio C. For next week's show, to request and reserve free seats, go to BYUCougars.com/Rose Show. We'll talk to you next Tuesday, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain. For Connor Harding, Tim Lacombe, and the coach Dave Rose, I'm Greg Wrubell, and this has been BYU Basketball with Dave Rose, live from Studio C. Good night, go Cougs.
On the basic level, we offer transportation. We carry 4 wheels, tailgates, and a place to rest your rump. Beyond that, we provide adventures, opportunities, and jobs well done. So perhaps our favorite offering is our full line of trucks, including the new Nissan Titan. Right off I-15, Tim